Hey everybody, welcome to Coffee Breaks Thursdays with Jason Zalakis. Of course, I'm your host, Jason Zalakis, and it's Coffee Breaks. Well, let's do some coffee right away. Do some coffee. Let's have some coffee. That's so funny. We're rocking the Ouija mug this week, of course. What are you enjoying out there today? What are you having? What time zone is it where you live? Let's talk about these things. Where are you at? Where are you watching from today? And anyway, welcome to Coffee Breaks Thursdays with Jason Zalakis. Like I said, I'm your host, Jason Zalakis. Man, I'm excited today. We got Stephone Davis coming on today, and I'm pretty excited about that. I got to tell you, I just recently met this guy, and one of the reasons I just hey, cool, right on, right on. In Denver and Indiana, of course, Jess Flux, former guest, watching over there in Indiana. Shout out to you. But we got Stephone Davis coming on today, and I'm really excited. I just met this guy. I was invited to go to Spread, one of our, I think it was like 2 weeks ago. We had Erica Marks and Bobby Smith on the show, and they invited me to come to their movie premiere. It was a launch, not a movie premiere, but it was a launch for their shout out to Wayne in Sacramento, of course, always watching, always supporting, and anyway, it was a launch for their Indiegogo to fund their movie, and that was pretty cool. Most when you do indie films, there's they all go about fundraising in different ways, and so they're not, I don't know, or maybe they don't, some have private funding, some do Indiegogos, and some do different things, but this one they actually had like a party and a live stream to launch their film, which I thought was pretty cool, and got to meet the whole cast. So our guest today was one of those people that was there, and I told the producer about him, and he got him on, which is crazy because it's hard sometimes for me to get people on the show, but Warren was sometimes he'll take my suggestion and for the guests. So like I said, we got Stephone Davis coming up here. So let's talk about that. I had a great time at the event. If you invite me to your things, I will try to come. I like to go to those things. That's the whole reason I do this job is I like the perks, man. I really do, because there's no money in it. I'm not like famous or anything, but I do like, to get those like invites or autographs where people send me their DVDs and stuff like that. I always feel special. And I think that's kind of a human thing, to feel special. But as for me, the whole reason I'm an actor is because I like the perks. I mean, of course I like the art too, but that is what it is. So this week, I don't have a whole lot, honestly, this week going on. You guys know I got fired from my agency a couple of weeks ago, and right before I got picked up to do 2 other commercials. So it is what it is, but my auditions have gone way down. And so I usually come on here and tell you about, my wild auditions and the different things that I had to do and all those things. But I didn't have any auditions this week. And I mentioned James Troop a lot on the show. He's a former guest on the show. And we're going to talk about him today, actually. We're going to talk about him a little bit more today because Stephone Davis, I think, has worked with him, and I don't think he knows he has. But we're gonna talk a little bit about that. So what I'm saying is I don't remember where I was going with that. But anyway, something about James. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But the point is that, he's always telling me, did you self-submit? Did you self-submit? And the truth is, man, is lately I have not been self-submitting. You know what it is? I got a lot. At what point, right? I mean, part of being an actor is we have flexible schedules. Some of us do, some of us don't, right? So at what point, I'm not auditioning, and I can choose not to, or I can choose to do self-submitting and and work really hard. But with things going on in my life, like I got to buy a car, and I got to buy a new mattress, and I got luxury problems. The mattress that I bought was supposed to be delivered yesterday and it wasn't. And then now today, we don't know where it is. And I'm frustrated with this, but the truth is that it's luxury problems. So I'm not really, I usually, like I said, I would come on here and I would tell you about all the great auditions and all these cool things I'm doing, but I'm not really doing that. What I'm doing is lame stuff. But this week, so that's the reality too, right? Like we always talk about on this show, man. This show is Coffee Breaks Thursdays with Jason Slackus is a harsh reality show. And the truth is that if you're an actor, and you know this already, if you're an actor, we get to the reality of stuff on this show. We talk about what it's really like to be an actor. We talk about how expensive it is. We talk about what it costs. And there's some days, man, where I'm just like, you know what? I got some time. I'm not doing something. I need to focus on other things. And I think that happens. And that's a reality for us. One of the other things, but I did do some stuff this week, and I did yesterday. I did a shoot for an RV cover. So I'm still working. I'm doing commercials, and if you're not, let me have some more coffee here. Coffee Breaks Thursdays. Realistically, I think to work in LA, you kind of have to do commercials and in order to kind of make any money. And so, because money is in commercials and acting is something else. And so for me, I'm doing commercials, but I did one for an RV cover and it was pretty cool. And I got to tell you guys, so you're going to see this commercial and you're going to go, wow, that's amazing, right? It was the first commercial that they ever let me wear sunglasses on. But it's also the first time ever that I've done a commercial for the same, in the same industry. Oh, we're still here? It said I dropped. Maybe you guys will see it. Maybe it just dropped the feed. It said I dropped and then it picked me back up. Hopefully the show is still on. Hopefully we're still live. Maybe it was just on my phone. What is going on? Live TV. What are you going to do? Okay, we got a thumbs up. Anyway, it's the first time I ever worked in the same industry. I've made a commercial for an RV accessory before. I've made 32 commercials and never done the same product. Never done the same even genre. That's what I'm saying. I did shampoos, but I've never done shampoo before. Again, I did an app, and I've never done an app. I did supplements, and I've never done supplements. Every time I go to do a commercial, it's something new. Except for this time, first time ever was an RV. And the fun fact about this RV is that even the company that makes the video does not own the RV. The RV is rented, so I don't own the RV. But you guys are going to see it and you're going to think I do, because that's, you always ask me. And honestly, the cover I was selling was fine. It was just I'm sure it's a great cover. And, it's marine grade, whatever they told me to say. And, and we're going to see it. So I did that this week and that was pretty exciting. And next week I'm doing one for an insurance app. So next week on the show, I'll tell you all about what it was like to do an insurance company. App. And I said, what insurance company am I doing, right? And they said, oh no, it's not an actual insurance company. They said it's going to be an app that you can go to get insurance quotes to save you money. And I go, oh, like an Expedia thing, like something that conglomerates all the findings. And so it's something like that. So next week I'll tell you what it was like to shoot that ridiculous thing. But that one actually has scripted lines. And in commercials I don't always get scripted lines. Usually they go, all right, here it is, say these points, and then I do. So we're going to see. Anyway, let's move on. Handsome history today. Now, you guys know, I'm a huge fan of the circus. I'm a huge fan of the zoo. I'm a huge fan of stuff like that. I got to see some stuff in my life that we don't have around anymore. And I'm a big fan of those things, okay? I know, cruelty to animals, whatever, right? But it's not necessarily how I feel. But on this show, Handsome History, we're going to do zoos again. And we've done zoos before. But you know what? If you want to see any of the previous episodes, go back and take a look at it. Coffee Breaks Thursdays with Jason Zalakis. You know the page. You can see all of our episodes. You can see James Troop. You can see Danny Roebuck. You can see Jackie Dallas. You can see all the episodes all the way back to Warren Madden when he was on the show. Producer Warren Madden, shout out to him. Just go check him out. Handsome History, I haven't always done that, but we've been doing that now for the last 15, 16, 17 shows or something like that. And we're up to 30-something shows. So Handsome History has become a staple. And we've talked about zoos before. So if you want to see it, be sure to watch it. But this one, man, here's what I learned about zoos this week. Most of the fences, that they have in zoos are based off guesswork. They don't actually know what will contain a tiger. And so they guess. And anytime any other zoo has an incident, oh my God, a tiger jumped across a 30-foot moat, or oh my God, the tiger leaped. Anytime a zoo has an incident, all other zoos adjust their fencing. I thought that was fascinating. They don't know how far zoos can hold the animal. And the truth is that most zoos have animals get out. In fact, the animals get out pretty often, but they're not usually a big deal. It only ever makes the news if it's some elephant or a poisonous animal. But if it's just a regular animal, they get out all the time. And I thought that was really fascinating. A lot of the zoos hold animals that have nowhere else to go. And I remember when I lived in Oregon, there was this high desert museum. And the high desert museum had animals that people had like taken in, like a bobcat or something. And so it was raised in captivity. It couldn't go back to the wild, or somebody had messed with it, or it had been shot and they'd rescued it. Like none of the animals were taken there or like captured. They were animals that had nowhere else to go. They were, owls that could fly, or, whatever. And that's how they ended up at those type of places. And I remember seeing that. And that's actually the truth about a lot of animals in the zoo. And what they do when they breed animals in the zoo is they use those animals for other zoos. That way they don't have to go take one out of the wild. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that that's what a breed, and obviously zoos have animals, we all know this, that don't necessarily get to live out in the wild anymore. But one of the things that I found fascinating was ducks and gophers and rats and stuff often sneak into or get into the zoo or come in, and they get eaten. And I know, when you go to the zoo, right, you see the bird, and I always think to myself, how come they're not grabbing that thing? But they do. A lot of the times, the animals there will eat the duck, and the zookeepers there have a term for it. It's called accidental enrichment. I did not know they had a term at the zoo for ducks that got eaten. It's called accidental enrichment. Before we get on to our guest, Stephone Davis. Now, here's something else that I learned about. When an animal dies at the zoo, okay, follow me on this. If you're going to leave the show, this is the point where you do. When an animal dies at the zoo, a big one, they can't move it. They can't move it. So they have to make it smaller in order. Because what are you going to do with an elephant? You're going to get a crane in? So they have to make it smaller to transport some of these animals that have died. And the neat thing about the zoo is they usually keep them all. They usually keep all of the dead animals in some way, shape, or another to use them for education. So if you've seen an animal at the zoo that was formerly there, he's probably still there. And the other thing is the zoo does this, and this was something that blew my mind. And right before we're gonna get to Stephone Davis, and I don't know how I'm gonna segue into him after this conversation, but the zoo, when an animal dies that's popular, the zoo will get a look-alike. I didn't know that. The zoo will go and get a look-alike. So the crowd doesn't know. The crowd's not any wiser that gorilla's not whoever they said it was. And, I don't know whatever your gorilla name is. But the people who lived across the street from me had a dog named Muffin when I was growing up. And Muffin was this white, poofy dog. And it died. And they went out and got another dog for their kid. Because the kid was born or whatever. And the kid was like, oh, Muffin died or whatever. They went out and got another dog and just called it Muffin. But it wasn't the same dog. It didn't even look like it. It was a totally different type of dog. They just gave it the same name. And I was like, that's a messed up thing. So I always called it Muffin too, but they always called it Muffin. Anyway, that's Handsome History this week. That's a childhood story I never thought I'd share live on TV. Stephone Davis coming right up. Shout out to producer Warren Madden in Florida. Not feeling so well this week. We're going to make this happen. He's doing better over there. Warren Madden always brings us the finest in entertainment, finest guests. We got Stephone Davis on the house. How are you, my man?
Hey, how you doing? I'm doing great, man. It's a beautiful day today. Nice and hot out here in LA. So I'm a sunshine type of guy. Always puts me in a better mood.
Dude, no doubt. It is a warm this week. And then I thought, well, it's June. Summer snuck up on me.
Yeah. It was
So
kind of weird because we had that like 2 week stretch where it was kind of cold. It was kind of, muggy. It was overcast and everything, a little bit colder. And then all of a sudden, it's just, we get this intense sunshine. It's like 95 degrees, but it wouldn't be LA if we didn't have that type of weather, right?
right. So, I mean, that makes me think of how we're running out of water in California and how hot it is. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's where I went with that. But moving on, you're born in California. You're born right up from where I'm born. You were born in Oakland.
That's right. I was born in Oakland, California, Bay Area born and raised.
Right. So I always shout out the Bay Area. There's only one state I don't pick on, and it's California. If you're, if you ever watch this show, every state is fair game but Cali. Uh, one of the things I wanted to ask you about, you talked about the sunshine. What's the difference in your mind? Like people always ask me that. They always go, "All right, so you're from San Francisco. What's the difference of living from San Francisco, living in LA?" Like what's the difference for you being from the Bay, living here? What would you say?
The difference for me is the people, really. That's the biggest difference. It's kind of weird out here. I was trying to figure out like what is the culture out here, and I was like, I really don't know of any. And when I'm in the Bay Area, I'm like, the culture out there is like, man, I don't know. I want to say it's kind of like brotherly love because it's just everybody has the same type of like kind of love and temperament where you walk past somebody and they're like, "Hey, what's going on? How you doing? It's good, it's good." And it made you feel good about it. Where I first came out here, I came out here December 2019, and people could give less than a damn if I said hi. They look at me and they're like, "Oh, okay. Well, I don't know why that guy said hi to me or whatever, but that's not going to happen again." And it's kind of like a thing where people, I guess everything's in a rush. They don't really care. I guess that's the best way to put it, at least from my experience. So I'll say the biggest difference for me is the people and how they are as far as connectional basis where you don't even know this person and how you perceive them and how you act towards them.
Right. So, okay. So you're saying in the Bay Area, you felt more like it's funny that you said LA doesn't have a culture. Like I was thinking when you said that, like, I don't know, the culture, what it'd be like taco trucks. Like, I'm really not sure what,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean,
it depends on what like area you're in almost by the minute in LA, but okay. So you talked about in the Bay, did you work a lot in the Bay when you were there? Did you work more in a smaller community?
you know what? When I was in the Bay Area, I wasn't even doing, I did a little bit of acting right before I left. I was involved in a play and I was involved in a little short film or short film series, I should say, that we were doing. It didn't really go through, but I was only doing those two things because I had just figured out like that I wanted to really be an actor and I was in 2018. So yeah, it was a small community type of thing that I did. The one that was involving the play was actually done. Let's see if I can remember. I think it was in Palo Alto, I believe. It was like the Palo Alto Players. So I was involved in that, and that was actually the first thing that I really did. And after that, I was involved in that little film series that we were trying to do, and that was the only real work that I had. So I was still very fresh, very green, and I was just figuring things out pretty much.
So in 2018, you've done like a couple of small things, and then you decide within a year you're living in Los Angeles. Like it happened that quick for you? Like is that like
I'll tell you
how
what,
did
yeah.
how does that
So
happen? Right.
So look, I always knew I wanted to be involved in some type of production when it came to like either TV, film, like animation, anything like that. I knew I wanted to be involved in it. I just didn't know how. So even in high school, my freshman year or sophomore year, I want to say, I was like, yeah, I want to make video games. I want to do that. And I got involved in it. I started doing it, downloading programs and everything, get on the computer. And I was like, this is a lot of work. I don't really think I'm going to enjoy this. I'm doing all these things. I'm making maps and stuff like that. And I'm just like, oh, this is tedious. 3 hours went by and I had just made a small pool. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, I don't think this is what I want to do. And moving forward, I'm like, okay, so I think I want to do like visual effects and After Effects and like animation type of things. Like, cause I loved, bullets and watching The Matrix, which was the first movie. that I watched. I was like, that is the coolest thing ever. And I think I don't even know, I was probably 5, 6 years old when I first watched The Matrix, and I thought it was just the coolest thing to ever exist. You know, the whole bullet time thing and everything, and them jumping up and going across roof to roof in a huge city. And I thought it was just so cool. So I was like, I want to be involved in that. I want to do like I want to do the special effects, like if they're going in slow motion or if they're doing gunfire or if they're doing flares or explosions. I want to be involved in that. And so I started practicing when I was in class, actually. We had an animation program and we did all types of things. And I was involved in it and I did enjoy it. I did like it, but I was like, I still want to do more. I want to be more in depth. I want to be more involved in it. And so I actually, when I graduated from high school and I went to college, I was involved in the broadcasting program. So we did film, television, radio, and live TV. That's what we specialized in. And funny enough, I thought it would be really cool doing like live TV broadcasting as a news anchor and things like that. And it was cool when we were live, even though it was a crazy firestorm going on. We're trying to get things together. The producer still figuring out what story is going to work, what story we got to toss out. And there's just so much going on, but I loved that. I absolutely loved it. The only problem was there was so much you had to do even leading up to that. You have to go out, drive somewhere. You have to find the story. What's going on in your area? If it's not in your area, where can I go to find the story? You know, who can I speak to? What can I use? You know, what is the producer going to like? And we all took turns having different jobs and positions, which changed your perspective. And it also gave you some experience of what to do, what to look for, and how you're going to go about if you were running your own show. How was a show supposed to be ran? And so when I did that, I was like, I like the live part. I don't like anything else. I don't like any of that at all. You know, the cameras might mess up, your microphone might not work, and this is all like in a live setting. And a lot of times you don't figure this out until you get back to the studio and you're in the editing room. You're like, I can't hear anything. We have to scrap the whole story, you know, or maybe you can use the footage, but now it's basically B-roll and you're just doing a live voiceover. So it was a lot of stuff involved. I didn't like any of that. I'm like, no, not my thing. And when I got into radio,
Well, you're getting way ahead of me here. Hold on,
yeah. Let you go
because
ahead.
I do want to talk about that news production too, some of that. But
Yeah,
let's go back to. Does every kid from the Bay Area want to be a video game developer at some point? is that like
man.
is that like your birthright if you live there? Like, you know,
Yeah, I can.
so you live there, you're involved. Why not stay there? Lucasfilm, you know, why not stay there and I mean, I think you're getting to the point of how you decide to get to LA, but you know, when I always hear there's opportunities everywhere, why not stay in the Bay for something
It's
like
very
that?
true. Yeah, it's
I
very
mean,
true. There is a lot of opportunities everywhere. I initially decided to move to Los Angeles because to me, it was the obvious choice. If you're going to be an actor, you want to go to the mecca of film acting, which to me is Los Angeles. So I felt like there would be more opportunities, more resources for someone who is in the acting field being in Los Angeles than it would be if I stayed in the Bay Area.
okay, so right, so you decide to ultimately leave all the tech, all of that, and focus strictly on in front of the camera persona.
That's
And
absolutely correct.
okay, right. And then that's basically what happened to me. When people do they come to you and say, do you want to write? Do you want to direct? Do you have passion for those things too?
Hmm. Well, I mean, the only writing I've really done, I would say, was in a drama class, and we would do our own little short scenes or whatever, and it was like a comedy. It was just right off the cusp. I think it took me like, overnight. I probably wrote it in about 10 minutes or so. And I really enjoyed it. I like that everybody else enjoyed it, the whole class. Everybody was laughing at the situation. And I was like, that was a lot of fun. As far as like if I were to do a film or TV setting, or I guess anything for that nature, it could be a play as well. I enjoy being in front of the camera more than I do behind it. But if I were going to be involved in something, I think I would do more of the writing because I do like the process of creating a story, from the front, dealing with characters, what is their motivation? Why are they here? What are they doing? And where they end up, where they start, where they end, everything that happens in between. I like that part a lot, and I like to think about what is the audience going to feel when this scene happens. What is the audience going to feel when this person says that? So I feel like the writing part, yes. Directing, probably not as much because sometimes I'm a bit of a stickler for things. I'm like, yeah, you did something, but I really wanted you to do it this way. And really, I just don't
Mm.
want to come off as like a butthole type of person. I'd rather just write it and be like, yeah, this is what you can do rather than directing. And I don't want to insult anybody or do anything like that, but it's just like in my mind, there's a certain way I wanted something to play out. So I'm really particular about wanting it to be that way.
I always get a lot of advice from people like, well, if you should do some directing because then you'll see what it's like on that side of the camera, and you should do some writing because you'll get those kind of things. Like, have you getting those criticisms or like advice? Do you hear those kind of things? Do people say those things to you?
No, not really. I haven't really heard anyone come up to me and say whether it was, in a production or whether it was just somebody I knew. Say, you know what, you should really try directing or something like that to really just, get a feel for it. I'm just, yeah, so it's never been said to me, but I mean, you asking me that right now, I'm just like, huh,
No, and I'm not
yeah,
saying you should. No, no, no. I'm saying that I hear it as an actor. It's one of those things
okay.
actors hear. Yeah, yeah. I'm not saying hey, I looked at your work. Have you considered? No, I'm just playing. So, no, you went to Aloni in Fremont,
Hmm.
and
That's
I
right.
went to De Anza in Cupertino, and they're like in the same like college. They're like community level or whatever.
Yeah.
But they have great film and TV production.
Hmm.
Uh,
That's right.
you know, let's go back to the news thing that you were talking about.
Hmm.
Where was that part of the school that was then when you were doing that news thing, or
Absolutely. Yeah.
to go out and what kind of stories are you chasing down? Like, give us some examples of what you're like. What's a story you can sell?
Well, we would our network it would go out to, the Tri-City, so it would be San Jose, Oakland, Fremont, and like Newark pretty much. But what we would do is we're like, okay, so we're a community college. Obviously, we're all still learning. The more viewers we're probably going to get is from people who are probably in our surrounding area. So what we would do is we would go and we would find websites. I can't even remember the name of them now, but we would find websites to tell us everything going on like that week. Like on Monday, this is going on. Let's say the library. The library is having a event where they're having dogs and veterans together so that the veterans can come in, they can feel some love, pet some dogs. It's great for their anxiety and reducing all of those mental problems that they may have. So it sounds like a good story. And we go up there, we get our cameras and everything, we get the microphone, and we just get a lot of B-roll of the dogs and the vets and then petting them. And maybe we even get a story from the vet, or we get a backstory on the dog. How did they get here? Where are they from? And it's really like a little cool thing, right?
So
And
cutting edge things is what I'm hearing.
cutting
I'm here.
edge breaking news.
A
Absolutely.
backstory on the dog
Stop the
is
pressers.
so okay, I see real community type things. We didn't
Yes.
have we never left the studio. We had a whole like film studio at Dianza, and we rotated between like, okay, your camera three, and now your talent and your director. Like, did you do that kind of stuff too? Was that like, or were you,
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
because you graduated. Ultimately I dropped out and pissed off my parents, but you know, but you actually went through the thing. So I mean, so did you do those kind of things like where you rotate around? Is that part of standard?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they want you to learn every single position basically. And that's just not even just in the studio room. Like not even just camera, and then the obvious talent
Right.
roles with weather, let's see, weather entertainment and breaking news or whatever the anchors. So they had us in the back room. Man, so I would be sound director. I would be the technical director, person in charge of our let's see, person in charge of like putting the videos through, like story one, story two, what's an A block, C block, B block. We did it all, man. We did it all.
I find myself watching, and I go, ready, camera one, take camera one.
Yeah.
Ready, camera two, camera two. When I still find like that knowledge still happens when I'm watching television. Like,
Uh huh.
yeah. So so you make the transition from the news to the radio, and you had a live show on. I wrote it down. It was Cole, 89.3 KOHL for the Bay Area folk. And
Yes, yes.
tell us about you're on the radio. Tell us about that.
So this was probably the first time I was really, really nervous because I'm getting in there and I'm looking at the soundboard and it's just this huge thing, all these buttons. It's probably about 200 plus buttons on the thing, and then you got all these sliders, you got the knobs, and I'm just like, man, this is how am I going to remember how to do all this stuff, right? And there's two parts to it. There's one part is the class, and when you're on radio, when you're live, that is actually the lab. So that counts as your lab time. And they gave you two options. They said, okay, you can either do it live here, or you can be in the back room and record all your stuff and we'll put it on later. I said, well, I don't need all that stuff, man. If I'm going to do the class, if I'm going to be a live radio DJ, I want to be a live radio DJ. So I took the challenge. And I never had a problem with my energy. I never had a problem with my personality and talking to people and just, bringing the excitement to whatever content, whether it be the songs or a story, whether it be about Justin Bieber or what's going on in the Tri-City area. I always loved that part. So learning was the hardest part. I knew that would be the challenge. But we took it, step by step. I'm learning about the sliders, the volume, which button to press to put the ad-lib sounds through, which button to press to bring the next song on, or which button to press to bring the next commercial. And then I'm going through my whole A block, C block, B block. When am I going to do weather? When am I going to do traffic? So the more I did it, the more comfortable I got. And my teacher, though, he would always throw in some extra bonus. Like, okay, I don't know if you noticed, but you got that special announcement coming up. It's a test system, the emergency broadcast system, which that one I always forgot what exactly to do with that one. But yeah, it was fun. But
You forgot what to do with the most important, the emergency broadcast.
yes,
I have no idea. This is the part where we panic.
yes, yes. So I'm hoping there's like no zombie apocalypse. There's no disease that's rampaging through the city or anything like that, because I am not going to be able to put that out there for you at all. You better watch TV because it ain't going to be on this studio, not on
Did
that
you
radio
ever
station.
did you ever watch that movie that was popular for a minute called Pontypool, where the guy was it was a film about a dude who was on the radio and he spreads like a zombie. His voice spreads and like makes people into like zombies.
I
Like
have never seen that one, but it
oh
sounds
man,
interesting.
it's a crazy horror movie called Pontypool, and but it's
Wow.
about a dude. Yeah, it's about a dude on the radio who I thought you would. It seems right up your alley: zombies and radio and becoming an actor.
Oh,
So,
well, yeah, I got to watch it now.
so okay, so you ultimately decide that radio is not for you. You want to be in front again of the camera.
Yes.
Oh,
All
go
right, go
ahead.
ahead.
No, I was going to ask you. Tell us the moment where you decide acting is it. All these other things I've learned, all these other things. Tell us what happens, like because I know that moment, and I love to ask actors that moment. Tell us that moment of when you were like, "Oh, this is it. I don't care what it pays. I don't care. I have to do this."
So, when we did do the live news broadcast, we also had people who, same thing like me, they were in film, they were in, the studio, or they're doing the technical stuff and all that. So one of the guys, he was actually the TD, I believe, for that day. And he came up to me after our show was over. He's like, hey, I'm working on this movie for my film class, and I think you would be perfect for a role that I had. I said, really? He's like, yeah. I was like, okay, well, I mean, yeah, I'll do it. What time do you need me? It was when I had that grace period between classes, and he gave me a little script, and I didn't even read it, looked at it. I just knew I had it. And so the next week came, and the day came, and we went to the studio, and I just started reading it. And it was about a live newscaster. And so I'm reading it. I read it about 3, 4 times, and it's like a monologue. So it's pretty long. It's probably around 200 words or so. But I read it about 5 times, and I'm like, okay, I got it. Let's do it. He's like, you sure? You don't want to do any practice? I'm like, no, let's do it. I'm ready. And so we do it, and man, we just fly through it just like that. And then we even get another extra take just because. And he's like, man, he's like, you really killed that. He's like, have you ever done this before? I'm like, I've done some acting in high school and whatnot, but I never really took it seriously. And I really enjoy doing that. And then it really made me think, I'm like, you know what? My senior year, we had to make our own little movie. It was like a short film, which I can definitely send to you later on. We made our
I,
short film. And we showed it to basically the entire school. And I remember I went to all the showings. We had like 5 showings in one day, or we had 6 showings, but I could make it to 5. And I went in there and watched it, and everybody was dying at my scenes, man. And they enjoyed the movie too, but everybody was just dying laughing at my scenes. And I was just like, man, that was a lot of fun. Like, and I really enjoy making people laugh. I really like entertaining people. So then I was really thinking, like, yeah, I mean, I think this is what I want to do. Like, I'm in the camera, making people laugh, making them cry, whatever I'm doing. And I really, really enjoy that. And I have a lot of fun while doing it. And so I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do.
Right. I love that, man. I can feel what you're talking about. So, okay. So why then art or both theater or film?
I'm really just a film. I wouldn't say like that, not just a film, but there's something about being on camera that's just different. It's
Right.
just different for me. That's like what I really love to do. So yeah, it's definitely a film, television, or animation. Voiceovers. I'm perfectly fine with. I really enjoy that too. But
So let's talk
yeah,
about that. I was going to mention. So you go from this small school film to South Park.
yes.
So tell us. Obviously, the radio voice, obviously the training, and that's where I'm going with this.
Uh-huh.
Tell us how you get you personally. I know how you do it, but and I'm not asking you to divulge a secret. How did
Mhm.
you get on South Park?
Okay, so hey, I see the casting call, I see the listing online, and at first I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, is that South Park, or is that just something else? And so I go inside the details and I look at it, and I'm seeing Matt Stone, Trey Parker. I'm like, oh wait, no, this is South Park. I'm like, okay, okay. And so I'm like, this is serious. And I'm looking at the role description and everything, and then they say looking for a voice like Snoop Dogg. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, man, I got this. I've been doing Snoop Dogg impersonations all my life, and along with everybody else too. So I'm like, oh, I got this, man, whatever. So I don't even do it that day. I do it the next day. I'm like, you know what, just to be safe, I'm just gonna listen to a whole bunch of Snoop Dogg and everything, right? So
Oh my gosh, you trained for it.
yes, I was like, I am definitely just gonna listen to every interview I can, and I'm gonna listen to every rap song, and I'm gonna try and get the rhythm, everything that has to do with his voice, the tone, the speed. I'm gonna get everything right. And so the next day comes, and I'm just going over the lines for about an hour or so. I'm like, all right, you know what? I got this. And so I do the little voice recording and everything, and I send it, and I felt great about it. I'm like, you know what? If I get the part, awesome. If I don't get the part, I don't care. I know I killed that. I know I did. You can't tell me I didn't. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go about my day. And it probably about 2 hours later, and I get an email from the producer, and they say, we loved your
Two
audition.
hours.
2 hours. Yes. It was a very quick turnaround.
That's the speed of LA.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So 2 hours. So go on. So go on.
Yeah, so they're like, yeah, can you come in tomorrow? Can you get your COVID test done and everything? I'm like,
Tomorrow.
yes,
Right.
tomorrow. We
Right.
want you
When
to
we
come
talk,
in tomorrow.
you're on the same episode as James Troop, who was on our show, and he played the voice of the dragon, or
Mhm.
or the narrator. I guess it's a narrator, but your character's name is the funniest. I laughed so hard because I know what the episode's about, but your character's name is Steve Black because. And so, what does your character do? You're the Snoop Dogg, but what do you play in it? What is your role? What is
So
your?
this is funny. So I was actually narrating too. We all had those different type of voices in the narration. So we did both, or actually I did both. So I did the narration, but when it came to Steve Black, which is Token Black's father,
Right, right.
um, so the whole idea was okay.
That's
So
the
you're
coveted
like this.
role. Everybody wanted that. Token's father. Everyone I know is like, was it Token's dad? Was it Token's dad? Like that's the coveted role, right? So all right,
Yeah.
so yeah, so go on. I'm really excited. It's so
Oh, I
cool that
can.
yeah.
Hey, I was just excited as you are.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, so we do the initial narration part, and it was honestly so great because I was there with, I think it was Matt. I think it was Matt. He was in the room with me. We were recording, and he's like, yeah, just do that. Just do what you did in your audition. That sounds great. And then I would say my lines, and we all start cracking up, and we're just laughing. I'm like, man, this is a really good time. It was my first time Actually, no, that's not true. It was my first time doing voiceover, but this was one of the first time doing voiceover with something like this. And so I wasn't sure what to expect at first. I'm like, are they going to be very serious about this? Or is it going to be one of those things where we're just, just going and we're, you're going to wait until he gives you something to do. He's like, just do your thing, do what you do. And if I need anything, I'll just tell you. And I do it, and we're just having a grand time, man. So he was like, okay, with Steve Black, he's like, so this is this guy, he's just this normal guy. He's very, I was gonna say like Leave It to Beaver-ish, but he's just like this very straight edge guy. Like he's a family man, whatever. But when you come in, you're gonna be talking like, you're this kind of a gangster dude who's trying to sell people things, and it's just, and I was dying laughing, man. He was like, yeah, can you do that? I'm like, I can do that. I definitely can do that for you. He's like, I want you to sound like this tough guy. Just use your deep voice and just have fun with it. And I did. And
would you do your Snoop Dogg for us? Is that putting you out, or would you do the Snoop Dogg? Can you do any
Snoop Dogg?
Do any of it?
Yes. Let's see if I can actually remember the lines that I had from the South Park. Ah, man, let's see. The great night pigwiggin rides on a frisky earwig, and his love, Queen Mad.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Thank you. That is so great. Like, dude, I love it. So, okay. I totally lost my train of thought. How exciting. So I think personally, I meet, Trey Stone, Matt Parker, or Trey Parker, Matt Stone, sorry. Yeah. I meet one of them, and I think I fanboy. I think I have like a panic attack. Like, to me, they're like gods, right? Like, I grew up on that crap. I saw that South Park crap before it was on Comedy Central. Like, I was one of those people who were like, somebody showed it to me, and they were like, you got to see this. And I was all, who cares about Santa and Jesus? Like, and then the next thing I know, it's the biggest thing in the whole world. Like, were you fanboying, or were you like, I know you got to play it cool, but how does it go for you personally?
I tried not to. I was trying to just act like, it's business as usual. That's what I tried to act like. But I tell you what, after this was before we did our COVID test, because we did it on location at the studio. So I go up there and we're in line. We're about to like register or whatever. And then Matt Stone walks in. He walks and he's coming up to us. He has his guitar case with him. And he has this mask on. But I still noticed, I don't remember. I don't think he did have his mask on. He may have or may not have, but I recognized him. And I saw him because I wasn't expecting him to be there. I just, thought it was going to be somebody else. But I saw him and I'm like, oh, that's him.
Right.
And he looks at me. He's like, hey, what's going on? How you doing? I'm like, hey, yeah, I'm good. Nice to see you, man. And then he just walks on in, and he said hi to everybody too. So he had a very good vibe about him, and I was so happy to see that. And I remember seeing interviews with them and them talking about their show, how their energy was and everything, and I loved that. So I wasn't expecting him, but you just never know. So in this case, I was like, that's awesome. That's cool. And sure enough, probably 4 hours later, because we have to wait for our results to come in, I ended up going into the studio with him, and we were just talking, and yeah.
Wow. So you're testing, right? You're COVID testing live at the site, and you were still having 3 or 4 hour tests at that point?
Oh yeah, dude. I was coming from, Studio City. So I was like, I don't want to go back home, and I didn't want to do anything else. So I was like, yeah, I'm just going to stay here. I'm going to stay here and just keep reading or whatever, and just reading my stuff, going online or whatever. Cause I did not want to go 20 miles north,
right,
20 miles back.
No, that would take you 4 hours. Right.
Yeah. So I'm like,
LA is an hour from LA. Right?
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you ever have that moment where you're starstruck? Like I know you have to keep it together, but like one time I met Erin Gray and I couldn't talk. Like, she was a Battlestar Galactica. I couldn't talk. Like, have you ever had that moment?
Last year in September, I was doing, I think it was just background. I was supposed to be doing background for the film. And there's another story about that and how that happened. But I get to the set and we're over near downtown. We're like Southeast LA, somewhere over there. And then I get there and then I see, man, I'm forgetting his name all of a sudden. But Noel Guglielmi. I think that's how you say his name.
Yeah.
So I get there and I see him. I'm just like, oh man, like what is he doing here? And it just kind of it stopped me for a moment. I'm like, oh man, like, okay, this is for real. And I didn't want to freak out, so I just go over there. I have a seat, and he's talking to somebody. They're all cool or whatever. And then eventually, uh, I just kind of I don't know what happened. I don't know if I walked over and we just happened to be talking, and then me and him just started talking, and we're talking about what's going on. He said, "Where are you from, man?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm from the Bay Area." He goes, "Oh, really? Oh, that's cool. That's cool." He's like, "How'd you get here? What'd you do?" He's like, "Nice, nice." And we're just talking back and forth about 10 minutes or so. And from there, I actually go to a different part of the set. And then I run into Glenn Plummer. And I'm just like, oh man. And I remember this guy. I remember him first watching his movie South Central with my mom and sister. And that movie is from like, I believe, 92 or something like that. But I
Right, right.
remember him. That was the first thing I remember him from. And that's like the main thing I remember him from. And then they're telling me I'm going to be doing a scene with him, me and him directly, and I'm
Whoa,
just like,
yeah.
oh man. So when I'm walking in there and I see him and we make eye contact, I'm just like, oh man, I can't freak out. I'm like, I gotta be cool about this. It's like, cause I was just gonna be like, it's like Glenn Plummer, like this is crazy. But I do my best to just keep my composure and just talk to him. Oh yeah, it's fine. Yeah, we're gonna be doing this. Oh yeah, it's cool, cool. And
Right. And
amazing.
in my mind, I'm going, is this real? Is this actually happening? Look how far I've come. Like,
Yeah,
like,
seriously.
so let's talk about how I met you. Speaking of being starstruck when you met me, no, I'm just playing, but so because I like to ask that question. I like those moments that actors have where they realize this is what I'm going to do. I can't believe I'm at this level or I'm with these people I never thought I would meet. Like I love those kind of moments. But I met you at the Spread. The movie's called Spread Pigs to Pig. I always screw it up.
Spread pigs
Spread
to slaughter.
pigs to the slaughter, isn't it? Or is it to slaughter? Or is there a the in it? Uh,
Spread pigs to slaughter.
okay, because you're in it and you're Antoine
Yes.
in the movie.
Yes, I am.
And so I met you at the Indiegogo event. Tell us how you got in the movie. How did you tell us your process of getting into the film?
Yeah, so I initially saw it online, and I'm looking at the character description and everything, and I see it showed a little bit about, what the movie was about, what's going on, the context, if you will. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like horror movie, kind of like a slasher, it has the young guys and the young women, and they're all in one isolated place. I'm like, go figure. And it really reminded me of like Cabin in the Woods, it really reminded me of that. And I'm like, that would be something really cool, like that I would be a part of. And I never really imagined myself in a horror movie, but I always thought it would be cool if I were able to be in a horror movie. And so when I go through the audition, and I'm doing this through Zoom with one of my friends from the Bay Area. So I have my laptop in front of me, I'm talking to them, and we're going back and forth. And it was a lot of fun, man, like the dialogue that we had, and it just felt so natural. And I throw a little bit of my personality in there when I'm doing my slate and everything, as I usually do. And I think it was a week later or days later, I'm not sure about the time frame now, but Robert, who is the director and creator of this film, he reaches back to me and we have a Zoom call, and he wants to, that's our callback. And he's just telling me, oh man, I loved your slate. I love the energy that you had. I'm looking through all of these different auditions, and then I come to you, and then I just burst out laughing, from your audition and your first slate. And it just makes such a difference where you can really show your personality, but also you have fun. You're entertaining to them. It's not just a job. It's a, hey, I'm doing this for you. I want you to enjoy this auditioning that I'm presenting to you type of thing, right? And so he gives me the whole breakdown on the story, and we talked for about an hour at least. And he's
So
like, you know what? Here's the script.
hold
Yeah.
on, your slate
Hmm.
turned out to be super important in this, is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
How often do you think the slate is it always most important? Some people say they don't watch it. I mean, how important do you think that it always nail it, right?
Yes, always. I think that you should always, in your slate, you should always make sure that they know who you are in your slate. Because anybody can just say their name. They hear thousands, if not millions of names a year. But are they going to remember your name? Are they going to remember you? You know? And that's what I always think about when I do my slate. And I just think about their perspective. They're watching maybe 100 clips a day. What are you going to do that's going to show them, oh, this guy means business. This guy, he knows, like he understands, you know? So that's my mindset
So
when I'm going
are
into
you
it.
okay? So and before we go back to I want to pick up where we left off, but are you finding yourself self-submitting, or do you also have an agency? How are you doing it currently?
Yeah, so I am with Real Deal Entertainment. So I have a manager, and I self submit a lot. I self submit, and he will reach out to me, and he'll tell me, "Hey, we got this coming up. Like, how do you feel about this? You know, you should audition for this. You have an invite for an audition for this." So I would say most of the gigs that I do, it's a lot of it comes from a lot of self submitting. You know, but I also do get help, and I get a lot of resources from my manager, and he sets me up for projects as well.
Now, one of the things I love about you is you were excited to be on the show. I get a lot of people on the show, but you actually watched one of the episodes and were really excited to be on. What did you think of the numbers that Robert, I call him Bobby, but Robert Smith, Bobby Smith, the director, what did you think of the numbers he was talking about for how many submissions came in? Like thousands. Like, how does that, I mean, as an actor, for me, I always feel like, dang, man, but you personally landed that role. How do you feel about that? Like, I mean, what's your
Well,
take
yeah,
on it, I suppose?
I mean, I'm always surprised when it comes to I get like just getting a call back, I guess. Um, and the reason I say that is because when you see something, you just see just you. You know, you see a role, you submit for it, but you're not thinking about the thousands of people most of the time until like someone says something. And they're like, yeah, you were, the 957th person that I saw, and we ended up going with you. So whenever I get, the perspective, or I remember just how many other people are auditioning for the role, I'm just like, man, that is crazy. Out of all those people, they decided to go with me. So I always feel good about that, regardless of whether I'm chosen for it or not. Getting the callback, getting the recognition, I'm like, well, obviously I did something right. But from there, obviously they make their own decisions. So I'm always surprised to hear the numbers every single time.
And so, okay, so Bobby gives you the script, and he's all about spoiling the entire film. On the episode he's on, he gives away the ending of the movie. I was like, "Are you for real, dude? Like, you just gave up your ending." Like, so I think the script is fantastic. I can't wait to see it. What did you think of the Indiegogo launch and crowdsourcing as a funding for films? Like what's your take on because I thought that was a great event, but I'd never seen that done before. So like having all the cast come and having like a party and food and everything for everything. What's your take on stuff like that? Have you been a part of those? Like, what are you feeling?
So I think it's really cool. I've never been a part of something like that before, but I think it's a really cool way of sharing your project and what's going on with the audience. Because a lot of times you may hear about a film, you might see some things about it, but this is an opportunity for people to actually engage with not only the people making the film, the director, but you have all of the cast and you have the supporters there, and they're showing you why it's going to be such a cool thing to be a part of. And it's a way for you to, when you were talking about crowdfunding, it's a way for you to know what you're investing in, like what's the energy behind this project? What are we going behind it? What are the plans for it? And we were able to divulge most of that and tell them what's going on, what our plans are moving forward, and give them an idea of what we're working towards, what we want to do, what we want to build towards, and what they'll be able to see and be a part of themselves. So I thought that was really dope.
How much promotion is the actor responsible for in general? I mean, on a film, there's movies that I promote heavily, and there's movies that I'm kind of like not so thrilled with my performance, and it's not about the film, but it's about maybe I don't want people to see me, So how much responsibility of promotion falls on the actor?
Well, I'll tell you what, it should be a lot of responsibility. I would say honestly, I would say around 60% because you are part of the film and you really are the selling point in many cases because people are coming to see you. So it should be just as important to you, if not more important, that you get people to come and see your film, as well as, the creator, the producers, and everyone else involved at the top. So obviously they're going to do their due diligence. They're going to put everything together. but you really do have a very big responsibility of showing people and telling them what you're being a part of and why they should come see it in the first place.
That makes a lot of sense, and when you think about like, when you see people on, other talk shows or whatever, they're promoting their films. That's usually what people do, I guess. So that makes a lot of sense. Let's talk about some promotion. What do you have coming up? What do you got? What do you got going on? Like besides
Man,
spread pigs to the slaughter, what do you have lined up?
so
You're hot, you're young, you're on fire, you're in LA.
yeah.
You're literally going to be on fire, during the summer because of the California burns. But besides that,
I hope not. I hope not. But it's been a pattern.
well, you live in the Bay, dude. We're always on fire over there.
Always.
So right. So okay. So go on. What do you got coming up?
Man, so I'll tell you what, right now we are in the middle of, I guess they're in the middle of some deliberation, whether or not, but I possibly may be the host of a show. I can't say too much yet, but I may be hosting this upcoming year and maybe some years to come. We'll see what's going to happen with that, but they really loved my audition. I personally think I killed it. I really think I did. So we'll see what happens moving forward. But I will say it is a very informational show, but very entertaining as well. And it's all about creating perspective for people who are more apprehensive in believing certain things, maybe about science, maybe about religion. So that's what I will say about that.
I love that. And so is that, and then obviously spread pigs to slaughter. Which could be filming some
This
point,
fall.
right?
Yeah,
Indie films always have a tentative timeline.
very tentative. Yes.
What else? Is there anything else coming down? Just those two
Man,
right now, hot. That's
right
enough.
now, yes. Yes, right now, because I'm always, you're just waiting to hear back. You do an audition or so, and the turnaround sometimes can be 2 weeks. One time it was like 3 weeks, and I heard back from them and they wanted to move forward. So you never really know.
Are
A
you
bunch
doing
of things could be coming at once.
Are you doing commercials too?
Oh, yes. Commercials, promos, everything. A little bit of everything, it feels like.
Have you had any commercials recently that I mean, are you auditioning for commercials, or like are you actually doing them? Like what you have any that are out? I mean, I guess that's what I'm asking.
And the last commercial I did, man, I'm trying to remember the name of it, but it was for a financial institution. And that was the last commercial that I did. And that was a lot of fun. We filmed over in Long Beach. So that's the last one I did, but let's see. There are a few that I've done some voiceovers for, and I'm waiting to hear back from another one right now. So,
When you talk
yeah.
about doing voiceovers, do you have a pro setup? Do you have a microphone and like the whole uh walk us through your audition setup?
My setup is very rudimentary. So I have a microphone that I use for my iPhone, actually. It's specifically made for that, and it's kind of like a little boom mic. So what I do is I use my phone, and then I use my closet because it's very enclosed. There's not a lot of echoing going on, and then I just go ahead and read. And I do editing to take out, any background air noise or anything like that. But most of the time, I make sure all my windows are closed, no helicopters are going off or anything like that, and I just make sure everything is very confined, so there's just no echoing and no background atmospheric noise messing up anything.
And you do all that on your phone?
Yes, all of it.
You don't have like even the editing and all of that is all done on your phone?
All of it.
Do you have apps you use for that, or do you use do you pay for these apps? Like how much have you invested into that, do you think?
Man, well, the biggest investment I would say, as far as the voice recording goes, was the mic. I think it was like $100, maybe over $100, something like that. I wanted to make sure that the quality was very high, because when you're doing voiceover work, you want to make sure that they are able to hear everything, but they only need to hear what they need to hear. So I made sure with that microphone, that's exactly what was going on. And from there, just having your setup, that's really just on you. You just find ways to make sure that it's very conducive to what you're trying to do. And I just made sure that there's no echoing going on. That's usually the biggest problem, is when you're talking and it feels like you're in a big open room. So
Right.
once you fix that problem, that's really the biggest thing. From there, I honestly think the microphone is the most important part.
Do you have softbox lighting for your what does your lighting look like for I switched from sound to visual, but what
Mhm.
does your lighting setup look like?
So I have right now, I'm in the same setup that I use for my auditions, actually. So I have my umbrella lights. I have two of them. They are, I want to say, luminescent. That's the brand I
You
use, I
have
believe.
umbrella lights though.
Yes.
Right. It's so expensive to be an actor.
Man, you know what? You got to invest in yourself. You have to be ready to invest in yourself.
Okay, so you have the umbrella lights, and then how long did you? Now you chose gray. Some people choose blue. What? How long did you spend picking out your background color?
I would say I spent probably 15 minutes. I was like, you know what? I don't want something too dark. I don't want something too light. I want something that's kind of just where you look at it and you barely even notice that it's there because it's just that bland. You want to be the one that stands out, not your background. So I just want to make sure that it's a good fit for me. You kind of want to make sure that the colors are good as well. But something gray, you can't really go wrong with that. And that's kind of like what this backdrop is, kind of like a gray, dark green. So you make sure that you are the focus whenever you're doing your auditions.
Did you buy it in the garment district?
Man, I bought this off Amazon.
Oh, did you? Okay, a lot of people order it off Amazon. And is it huge? Like, how do you have? Is it just pinned on the wall? Because that's what I do. It's just pin it on the wall. And now I'm just using this wall. But
Yeah.
this is where I do my auditions. I don't normally look this washed out, but but this is where when I used to audition, this is where I do it from.
Yeah.
That was a shot at myself. But
Hmm.
anyway, let's tell the people, where can they find you. I mean, man, you're up and coming. Where, if someone wants you in their film, and I'm sure they do, where can they get a hold of you? Where can they find you?
Well, they can definitely find me on Instagram. I am at Skinny Bruh for obvious reasons. I'm a bit more on the slender side. So that would be Skinny and then Braa. And
Bruh.
it's the same thing. Exactly. That's the Bay thing, bruh. So uh, same thing on Twitter. And also you can find me at my email. So StephoneDavis23@gmail.com.
There it is. Any words or messages to an actor who is up and coming, who sees you and wants to potentially one day land a cool role and be on South Park, maybe?
I would say whatever you don't know, just go ahead and look it up. The first thing I did when I wanted to become an actor, I actually went to Google and I put how to be an actor. And I did every single step. The most important thing I would say is don't skip steps. Because if you skip steps, you're going to miss very important details. You really will. And it could cost yourself a lot of money as well. So I would say do the first steps first, right? You want to get your headshots, make sure that you get a good photographer first. You want to make sure that you have some decent training. And when you do your training, you also want to make sure that you can get a good demo reel and focus on your strengths. And your demo reel, you always want to give them the best version of yourself. So I would say make sure you do the simple things first. From there, you get to the more tedious things. And from there, you just have to really go into it. Just go straight into it. Don't be afraid to fail because you will fail. So don't be afraid of it. There's nothing wrong with it.
Man, I wish I'd asked that question in the beginning of this. That's always my end question. But man, Stephone, I've had a great time talking to you. I want to thank you for being on the show today. It was wonderful, man. I look forward to seeing you again in person. We live here. We should have lunch and do all that stuff that Hollywood people do. And
Yeah.
but I want to thank you. I want to shout out, folks. Thank you for watching. I want to shout out Warren Madden for getting Stephone on the show so fast. And
Yeah. Thank you,
you
Warren.
know, thank you to everybody. And don't forget, check out Spread Pigs to the Slaughter. Stephone Davis is going to be in that, and you can check out the Indiegogo is live right now. Coffee Breaks Thursdays with Jason Zalakis. Everybody, we'll see you next week.
I'll take it easy. Thank you.